Welcome everyone to our February Beusail Longevity Forum Taster. We're so grateful to have everyone here who is excited about learning all the incredible new breakthroughs for living younger, longer, healthier. My name is Curtis Estes, and we know that there's just more and more interest in this conversation. And so we're thrilled to be able to give you access to literally the premier experts in the longevity space. And today's guest is a perfect example of that. For those of you that are new to the community, we do these tasters as a way to give you an experience of what the longevity forum looks like. Mark's going to be sharing a little bit more about that later in our time together. But we really have this vision of giving all of us who are really interested in this topic the tools to take our longevity game to the next level. And what I've realized is it's not doing it on my own. I need the accountability of a group to take it to the next level. And so modeling on YPO and EO and Tiger 21, we're creating these longevity forums where we bring together groups of peers who want to baseline all their biomarkers, get a sense of where they are, get a really good appreciation for all the ways that we can live younger, healthier, and longer. And by leveraging the accountability of the group through a professional chair like the amazing Mark Champagne, we're able to make visible, measurable progress quickly in reducing our biological age. And then by leveraging this network that we've built with all these experts over the last 3 years, for each of the longevity forums, we bring in those experts that each group is most interested in. So if it's sleep or peptides or stem cells, we want to give you one-on-one direct access to these gurus in this space. So without further ado, I'm super thrilled to introduce Mark and our incredible guest, Sanjiv. Mark, take it away, buddy.
Thanks, Curtis, and thank you again, Sanjiv, for being here. We were super pumped about the conversation around stem cells. There's no shortage of questions to be asked around that topic. So thanks again.
Thank you
Um,
for having me. I appreciate it.
yeah, and welcome everyone. A couple familiar faces and those who are new. Thanks for taking the time, to be here, but also I think a higher thank you to yourselves for putting your health first. I mean that. I think we all win when we all do that. So thanks for being here. Just quickly, we're going to go through a quick breathwork sequence just to blow out some mental clutter and kind of reset and ground and be present in the current moment. So it's always a great way to start, I think, really any kind of session together. We do that in all of our forums because at the end of the day, there's a lot going on in the world. I have no idea what's happening in your lives personally and professionally, and same thing over here. So let's just all kind of come into one space, relatively speaking, in a clear mental state. So we'll do that in a few seconds. Then we'll jump straight into a chat around stem cells and demystifying stem cells, kind of where we're at on the topic, what's coming, what's the new tech, and so forth. And of course, that will be interactive as well. If there are questions, the team will be taking a look so that we can get those answered near the end. And then as soon as we're done that, we'll go through one of our kind of signature plus 22, we call it breakthrough experiences. Because what's always interesting about this exercise is every time we go through this, especially with our forum groups, just literally, you'll see we'll do this for 10 minutes, literally going through what I would call kind of like forced journaling around why we want to live to the age we want to live to and what that means and so forth. On average, people usually gain 15 years to that target longevity age. We haven't done any testing, no stem cells, nothing has been done other than literally taking some time to quiet the mind and get real clear on the whys behind living a joyful and long, thriving life. So that's always fun, a fun experience. And then we'll close it out afterwards in terms of how you can get involved and what we're working on. So with that, I will, and feel free to uh, kill your cameras during the breathwork sequence, but then once it's done, turn them on because it is an interactive experience. But I say you can drop the cameras during the breathing, because I don't want you to be self-conscious when you're breathing, and highly invite everyone to really fully breathe in and out and so forth, and follow the prompts. So like move the body and get the most out of the experience. So just before Dan, I can still see you. So can you just give me a thumbs up? Can you
Hello,
hear
ready
this?
to get focused, be productive,
Can
and
you hear
have an
this?
awesome day?
Yeah, we're good.
Let's do this thing,
Okay,
starting with in 4, out 4, nasal
perfect.
breath. In 2, 1, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. Double time, here we go. In, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in. Get lost in this. Big breath in. Squeeze your hands into fists. Feel the power in your whole body. You're alive. Let's let it out with a big exhale right now. Holding on empty. Conjure up the power you have within you. Feel it. Let's breathe life into this again. 2 count breath. Here we go. In, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, Big breath in. Empty it out. Getting ready for a 1 count breath. In, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. Get lost in this. You got 30 more seconds. Give it your all. Getting ready for our final breath in. Take it in. Feel the power in your stomach. Feel the drive in your heart. Use this today. Let it out. Beautiful. You are incredible.
All right. How's everyone feeling after that little hit of breathing? Thumbs up. You can throw the cameras back on.
Great.
That's Sanjiv smiling. That's always good too.
It was great.
Amazing.
That's awesome. A little breath of fire, get you moving.
Exactly. Actually, we did a full breath of fire, full sequence of that the other day. That's no joke, that one.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, well, everyone's got your details in the invite and so forth. So I'll actually stop sharing just so we can see each other a little bit better on the screen, and we can just maybe just jump in with. I'd love to know, you just share maybe a couple one-liners of how you describe some of the work that you do, and I guess maybe what lights you up about this space.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, appreciate one. I appreciate Curtis for allowing me to be on, and that's always you're an amazing human being, and thank you for that. And Mark, thanks for hosting all this, so that I appreciate that as well too. But yes, so like I would say that this is the regenerative time in our lives, right? Like some people have called it anti-aging, some people have called it the wellness movement. I think it's the regenerative movement that we're on. It's the longevity space that we're kind of into, and it's kind of making it sustainable. And one of my big things is about democratizing the space and seeing how it can be available to everyone. And that's really been my focus for the last like 3, 4 years and seeing that. And so I've not just talked about it. I've kind of put my money where my mouth is as well too. And and so I think that the space is up for a change, and we want to educate not just the consumers but the providers on the new things that are happening, and especially with some of the products that we have, but also about where the space is going with stem cells, exosomes, and now cell factors.
Love it. I mean, it is. I'm so
Hi,
excited to
this
talk
is
to you.
Vam.
Oh, I'm so excited
Hi, Mr.
to.
Wong. This is Pradeep
Oh,
calling you from Research Wire.
all right. Thanks for muting, Nathaniel. Uh, I'm excited to chat with you about this space because, when I was thinking of the good way to open, I mean, I feel like it's a space that is still very like wildly misunderstood in a way. It's almost like got a little bit of sci-fi to it, or you're heading to do these overseas trips to get access to these kind of
Right.
technologies. Like it's a bit kind of Wild West in a way, but at the same time really evolving quite quickly. So I guess just what are stem cells just to start? Like let's just get a little bit of grounded. Like what are they? What are maybe some misconceptions about this? And then we can get into some practical aspects of how to actually leverage
Yeah, so I
this
mean, stem cells
technology.
come. We have stem cells in our body today, right? And so we have stem cells that come from our adipose tissue, our bone marrow that help us as adults as we sit. The foundation of stem cells really is when we're in the womb. And so those cells that are being used by the placenta to help us grow our cell signals. Those stem cells help cell differentiate, help us get skin, help us get eyes, help us get cartilage versus bone. We're like the perfect human blueprint, right?
Mm,
And that happens through cellular communication, cell signaling, and it tells our bodies what to make and when to make it and how to make it, right? Like why we have a heart with 4 chambers, why we have 2 kidneys, and why we have a liver that does all this stuff. That is all a process of cell signaling. It's a beautiful creation, and that is really where stem cells start. Right? They start in the placenta, and then they grow into our bodies. They cell signal to us. Right? And that I agree with you, Mark. The space has been a total wild, wild west in the last, especially the last 10 years. But stem cells have been around for a long time. We've known about them for a long time. When OBGYNs were, even within the past 100 years, they would use minced up placenta for an episiotomy, just knowing that it had healing properties, not knowing all the science behind it, but knowing that it was that it healed, right? It helped heal wounds faster. It helped heal those scars
mm.
faster, and so they would use it. And the science has evolved so much, and it's evolved even within the last like 4 or 5 years. I think to our unfortunateness here in the US, we're a little bit behind than the rest of the world, right? Because you were saying, we've been going overseas for these stem cell treatments, and that's just because of lack of regulation here, but also lack of regulation over there too, right? And so they're
Yeah, that's a
opening
good
that
point.
kind of forum up because you don't know what you're exactly getting all the time. You have to have reputable companies, reputable guidance to do that. And a lot of people have taken advantage of that space, and that's kind of why the Wild Wild West has occurred. Even here in the U.S., we have a lot of variability, even in the products that we use today with exosomes. The exosomes are great, by the way. That is a foundation of what we'll be talking about too. But there is variability in that, right? Because it's just the vesicle itself. And we'll talk more on that too. But
Okay.
from the stem cell to the exosome to what's inside that exosome or extracellular vesicle that does all the work, which is kind of where the secret to the secretome is where it's at. And that's kind of what we have is an isolated secretome in the space.
Okay. Is it just last very naive question, but is it just a matter of as we're aging and of course we're surrounded by I would say almost everything in opposing forces to our health, whether those are toxins and what we're putting into our body, into, chemicals and so forth, and then just natural aging. Is it that the communication between our cells just naturally continues to break down, and this is where we have an opportunity to kind of repair that conversation? Is that, or am I vastly
No,
overgeneralizing
you're
this?
you're you're spot on. So our cell signaling, which tells our cells what to do, kind of breaks down at 18, but at 28 it kind of takes a cliff.
Okay.
Right. So then we really and aging is a disease, right? And so it's a disease of cellular communication or cell signaling. And we start to lose those cell signals at the age of 28 in a big way. And then you think about if we get injured or other diseases start to affect us, then we start to get really sick and age faster. And medicine historically has been on removing disease, replacing tissue, suppressing symptoms. And what we're talking about, and what I've shared with Curtis and now with the rest of the world here, is that the next area of medicine is really focusing on restoring the cellular communication that we have in our bodies, our native cell signaling, so that we can heal ourselves and start reversing aging in a natural signaling way, because health is fundamentally a signaling problem, a cell signaling problem. And
Mm,
so people are probably like, what the heck is cell signaling? And it's how cells communicate, right? And so they coordinate repair. So think about when you were in the womb, like those signals are telling us how to make things. And then as we grow and we go through puberty and we're adolescents, those signals are telling us how to coordinate repair. They're telling us how to regulate information and inflammation. They're helping us understand how to maintain healthy tissue function. So without signaling, cells can't organize, right? Healing correctly. And so when we start to lose that signaling as we get through that age of, past 28, that's how aging happens. And so that's really what we're trying to reintroduce to our bodies in a natural way, because aging is damage accumulation and it's largely a communication breakdown. And so signaling proteins that are declining, and they're aging, right? So we're losing our signaling proteins. Our immune modulation is starting to weaken, so our immune system is getting a little bit weaker. Our repair coordination starts to slow down. Our inflammation starts to increase because our body's starting to attack because it's leaking mitochondria everywhere. And then the cells stop listening to each other because they don't know what to do. And that is a mitochondrial dysfunction, right? So the mitochondria just aren't energy producers, which we learned in like ninth grade biology, right? They're signaling regulators. So they influence like apoptosis, which is like cell death. They regulate immune signaling, oxidative stress, metabolic communication, and so mitochondrial dysfunction equals signaling dysfunction. And so what we're doing in this space is putting what I believe is going to be the forefront of regeneration. It's going to be a signaling event, right? And
mm.
this is it. And this is what we're hearing this more and more. And you're going to start seeing people taking our position on this at a greater level, especially with like peptides and all the things that are happening out there in the space. But what regeneration is when we say that signaling event, we're putting out cytokines to release to release information, growth factors, these extracellular vesicles, these regulatory proteins. This communication network kind of coordinates that regeneration, and we're using it to put it back into your system, if that makes sense. And
I
hopefully
love
it
it.
makes
I
sense.
love it. Well, I mean, I think like any of these, I mean, just speaking for myself, when it feels like this is a bit of a complicated, not complicated, but I mean, there's a lot of nuance and there's a lot going on, but just intuitively, I don't know, to me, makes sense when you're signaling something in your body versus going in and replacing something or
That's right.
taking something out. I mean, of course, there's been beautiful medical advancements, but once again, I mean, something's in the body for a reason. It like when you start doing things like that,
Yeah,
usually I've got
I'll break it down.
questions.
Yeah, I'll break it down for you super easy.
Yeah.
We have a leaky bucket with our cells, right? And so what we're doing with this leaky bucket is it's leaking. It's continuously leaking. We're not stopping the leaking, but we're like, oh, we should add stem cells. We should add exosomes. We should add peptides. We should add this to keep on over or just filling the funnel, right? But
Mm,
that's not longevity. You can't stop the leaky bucket if you're not if all you're doing is additive stuff. cell factors
Yeah.
or cell signaling is stopping the leaking bucket and then adding on these great modalities that are out there that might be needed, but it's setting up this stage for regeneration being sustainable and longevity being sustainable. If we really want to live to 120 years old, which I think is very much doable, or 100, and we want to do it with health and not just lifespan, we have to fix our cell signaling and our cellular communication, and then we can start doing these protocols and make them very sustainable, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. So how do we do that? And I
Yeah.
guess what is the difference between the technology and the science that you're using versus I guess what's been kind of the current standard?
Yeah, and so it starts with the placenta, right? When we think about us as that, the placenta is nature's regeneration engine, in my opinion, right? It is the most regenerative tissue in biology. It protects the mom. Helps create the baby. It takes it from a zygote to in 9 months a human being, and that all of those are cell signals that are mapped, right? It supports immune tolerance, it's rapid tissue growth, it's vascular development that occurs, it's anti-inflammatory signaling. This makes it uniquely rich in regenerative signaling molecules, right? And so when you think about that, there's nothing else on the planet that can do that. And that's coming from us, right? As humans. And so what cell factors are, cell signaling, these cell signaling communication molecules, is they're placentally derived, but they're acellular and they're DNA-free signaling proteins, right? And so that's the big difference in the space. So that's the next step is acellular DNA-free cell signaling communication. So we don't have this immune risk to our bodies and we're not putting in other live cells into our body to do the same thing, right? So what these acellular DNA-free placentally derived signal proteins have as cytokines, growth factors, regulatory proteins. But the great part about them is they're non-tumorigenic growth factors. The great part about them is that they're non-tumorigenic. They're not going to expand any other bad cells. They're actually going to communicate to your healthy cells. So there's no cells, no DNA, no replication potential, only signaling, and it's signaling to the surface membrane, which is an instruction code. I call it the God code, but we can call it the instruction code on what it is because that instruction code has always told us what to do and it stopped, right? And so when that went away, we started to age, right? In a way that was at a very depreciative level. This isn't going to stop aging. It's going to slow it down to a place where we might be able to live to that 100 years old, right? And so why that's so important is because that's our natural cells telling us, hey, I'm gonna listen to what I'm gonna do. I know how to repair tissue again. Where have you been, signal? And that happens because of, like you said, our diets, our environment, our exercise, right? Like some of those things are just challenges, the stress we face as human beings in the workforce. There's very successful people on this call or listening to this call, and those things have to be reset.
When do we, practically speaking, when should we consider this kind of modality or this treatment? Like I guess what questions should we be asking? Because I mean, there's no shortage of things to do out there in this space, which is great, but also at the same time, and I feel this in some of our forums as well. It's almost like decision and option overload in a way, right?
Yeah,
And it's like, where do I start? Right.
yeah.
So for just based on the work that you do, I guess, how do you guide people into maybe understanding where them as the individual can start? And then, of course, everyone on the call here, like what are the questions that we can be asking or the things that we can be looking for?
Yeah, and the truth is like theoretically we want to start using it when we start signaling our signaling decline starts going away, reintroducing it back into our bodies, right? But not everyone's 28 years old on this
Yeah.
call, right? And
Yeah.
so it's about starting this signaling process now. So introducing those signal communications back, right? Because that's going to be the foundation of the next protocol, of the next peptide, of the next hyperbaric oxygen therapy, the next ozone therapy that we're going to be doing, these plasma exchanges or EBU. You need this to kind of get your cells to function properly and healthy again, so that when you do those things, that's when you will see the more beneficial the benefits of those other modalities in
Okay.
there, right? Because it's like taking it when you're 28 or 29, taking those modalities when you're 28 or 29, right?
Yeah.
And we've always thought about getting stem cells or this or that. At 28, 29, 40 years old, you have plenty of healthy cells. At 50 years old, you have plenty of healthy cells. They're just dormant. They've gone
Mm.
quiet. And so it's like, let's awaken those cells up and let's get them communicating again, because that's a natural response for them.
Yeah, I remember when we first met you, I remember the example you provided, and it really stuck. It's like we're restarting our phone, It's like a
Yes.
good fresh reset, and let's
Yeah.
fire that sucker back up kind of thing.
Yeah. You get an
Uh,
iOS update, right? We all have iPhones, or most of us have iPhones, but you
yeah,
get an iOS update, it takes all the bugs out, right? It makes your phone work faster. It makes
yeah,
it, because it also, because of wear and tear, uh, it slows down,
yeah.
right? It freezes.
Any questions just from everyone on the line before I continue? We've covered quite a bit here, but just any practical questions or anything on your mind on this topic, you feel free to pop it in the chat or live on the video. If not, I'll keep going. Oh, there we go.
Oh, are there some
There we
general
go.
articles? Yes. So, Michael, we have a Google Drive that I can share with Mark after the call, and he can send it out to
Okay.
the group. But it is articles. This is a very well studied. Secretome is not new. It's been around for like 10 years. But isolated secretome, acellular secretome, using the whole placenta to get that secretome is relatively new within the last like 3, 4 years. And you'll see the shift in the longevity space being more towards cellular communication versus stem cells, because really the end result of stem cells is cellular communication. That's why we put them into our bodies.
Mm. We have one more. What's the first step in plasma exchange to stop the leaky bucket?
Yeah, so I mean, before you do plasma exchange, the goal would be to get your cells to be communicating properly. And so you want your cells to the leaky bucket is because of cellular communication, right? It's leaking mitochondrial DNA. It's called mtDNA. So when you leak mitochondrial DNA, your body it doesn't recognize it as itself. It goes, oh, this is a foreigner, even though it's leaking from the cell. And this is really the true cause of a cellular aging. So the body starts to attack this mtDNA because it's leaking from the cell. And what to do to stop that leakage is to introduce the cell signals, which are coming from the cell factors, to say, hey, our ATP function is working proper, our cellular function needs to be working proper. Here's the proteins, here's the cytokines, here's the growth factors that you recognize as your instructional code, and it actually stops the leaky bucket. So then when you do plasma exchange, now you're doing plasma exchange with healthy cells, and it doesn't have to spin as hard and fast down, right? And you're getting healthy exchange going on. So if you were to do a protocol like that, I would say uh, uh, do plasma exchange actually in this circumstance to get rid, and then just add the cell factors in post.
How do you measure? Is there a way to measure your baseline and all this communication? Is it
Cellular
just
aging can be measured in a lot of ways. So there's molecular U. So I know that's an
yeah?
organization that has a great biomarker test. There's Generation Lab that we also use in the space, which is it's a systems age test it's an epigenetic, and then also just checking your metabolic code, right? Like looking at the like normal testing to just understand where your deficiencies are, where your organ systems are, and then understanding where you want to target. So
Mm.
measuring is the key. So that is what's been missing from the longevity movement as a whole is baseline testing and monitoring the measurements of that, because we're just adding modalities to our, I'm going to throw this in there. I'm going to do cryo now. I'm going to do this now. Right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that is that one, is it cost effective? Are you maximizing efficiency? Maybe, maybe not. And how are you measuring it? And so we should be measuring it from a metabolic standpoint. We use metabolic code, and then a version of an epigenetics test, whether that's molecularly U or Generation Lab, which are the two that we use in our centers.
So you get the baseline, you get the measurements, come see you and the team, then you have obviously a targeted path or treatment protocol forward, and then from there, as you're cleaning up kind of the basically your baseline, right, or the foundation, then then you can start looking at your other protocols and so forth, whether that's plasma exchange or I mean, there's name
There's
put the
plenty
list
there.
together.
Yeah, there's a list of them, and that is the other thing is understanding what's going to happen, and what you need to focus in on to accelerate the cellular reversal, right? Because it's not about biological aging or chronological aging. It's really about your cellular age, and when you can reduce your cellular age, you're going to reduce all of those other things, and all these diseases are diseases of inflammation, and our body attacks itself. That's how we create inflammation. And so slowing that down is the ultimate way to stop aging,
Okay.
or slow down aging, I should say.
Yeah. Ken, good question from Ken. Where do you start and which place in SoCal is best to start?
Yeah, Ken, thanks. We can do it with your provider if you want, so you can introduce your provider to us. We have Beverly Hills Rejuvenation Centers across Southern California. West Hollywood is my favorite one. That's because that's our flagship longevity place. But yes, you can get cell factors there, or you could just email Curtis and he can forward your information to me or Mark, and I will make sure that we could send it to your house. We do concierge IVs, concierge care, if that's something that's of interest to you. We try to make it as convenient as possible to get it in your hands, Ken.
This is a good question. Are there any new application formats launching in 2026? Examples, subcutaneous injections, topical IV drips. I mean, you mentioned some of that, or anything new in the pipeline we should be aware of.
Yeah, so sub-Q is already launched. So we do subcutaneous at home. It's a little bit slower of a systemic approach. It goes through your lymphatic system first. So it's just like you would take a peptide. We're working on a topical solution that will be a spray for your face, and like so you can spray it on your face. So those are going to be out there. We can nebulize it so you can get it into your lungs. We can do it intranasal so it can cross your blood-brain barrier. If you're having neuroinflammation or worried about early onset neuroinflammaging is what I call it, and that can be a lot of things. But so those are all available today, and sub-Q is available today as well too. And then the topical would be the next to come.
Okay. Any flags we should be aware of or that we should be, looking at or paying attention to?
Yeah, I mean, so I think, and I shared this with you on the call. We need to be worried about self-health. Like we can't rely on other people. This is why these forums and why I think Curtis is such an amazing person for putting all this together. Is because this is how we understand and get knowledgeable and take care of our bodies, right? This isn't biohacking or this or that. It's still, like, hey, we're going to learn the science. We're going to use reputable organizations. We're going to use American-based products so that we can have the quality and regulation there. And it's about managing our own health and taking that awareness towards healing ourselves and understanding our bodies, right? Not relying on just a doctor or just like an insurance company to manage my care or a pharmaceutical product to be like, oh, this is, and I'm not saying those are bad, right? We need those people in
Mhm.
our lives, but also we need to manage ourselves. And this is how we can help prevent those types of situations so that when we do have an acute situation where we end up in the hospital and we need a physician and we need pharmaceutical products, we can recover faster, right?
Yeah,
Because our bodies are ready for it,
totally.
and so that's it. I mean, yeah, when you want to, from a worry standpoint, the cool thing about this is it's acellular DNA free. If it does, the worst it can do is nothing.
Mm.
And so like that is the good component of it. You could have, injection site reaction. Some people have said that they, didn't drink enough, or they were dehydrated, or they were very tired at night. And so that's we get that from a lot more of the female crowd than the about being tired at night. But the reason that you do get tired, and that is one of the side effects, is your body's at rest. When it's at rest, it is doing its most healing,
Yeah.
and it's doing its most signaling. And so we see that a lot.
Any stories, obviously confidential or in a confidence. I can't speak today. You know what I'm going, but any kind of case studies that you can share that can help us understand where others have found really, nice benefits with this kind of
Yeah, so
treatment.
Curtis asked two questions. So I'm gonna answer his because and it's a
Oh, there
personal
we go.
story as well too. So my example is my meniscus, right? I was at a wedding on June 21st of this June of 25 to 2025. And I tore my meniscus because I put someone on my shoulders, were silly, and that person was wobbly, and my knee tore. And so I had
Hmm.
a meniscus tear, and it was a greater than 60% tear. It was like a 62, 63% tear. So it was a bad tear. I'm also
Ah,
46 years old, so that's not great. The kid was 21, or no, 26. Sorry, his brother, who was also carrying him, was 21. And so that was my story, right? And so I was like, I got to go to the emergency room. I got to do this. So I waited couple days to let the inflammation go down. I got the image. They told me what was going on. They suggested I actually have surgery. And I was like, okay, sure. But they wanted to wait. I did this personally, so I don't recommend this all to everyone. I put a local injection of 5 vials into my knee, plus a scaffold of like hyaluronic acid to kind of hold it there. And I did that twice. So I did 5 and then 3 vials. So 8 vials total in about 12 days. That's not really the most sustainable one, but I just had access to it. So I did it. And July 4th, so 16 total days, I walked a 5K with my son for the 4th of July. So
whoa.
yeah, so it was I didn't run or anything, but I did walk the 5K, and I
Sure.
like my knee has total repair. We have images of it, so I'll share those on the next as well too. We have some very cool stories and case studies about people with MSK issues, so musculoskeletal things that have
Okay.
occurred, and you can see the repair that happens. A lot of shoulder stuff, and so we'll share those case studies. So I'm going to give Curtis and you the Google Drive, and there's a lot of case studies there that you guys can take a look at and see as well.
In like a standard Sanjiv, that's remarkable. But in like kind of obviously there's everyone's different, of course. But if there's a way to generalize this in some capacity, and if you're following kind of standard protocol, like how fast does this stuff normally
That's
heal?
true. I mean, I'm 46 and I'm relatively healthy, right? And so you do have to
Yeah, of
take
course.
that into consideration, right? I've been also on the product for a long time. Since we've been making it, I've been taking it myself. And so that was so the cell communication was already in my body. So healing that
Mm,
quickly is usually not normal
yeah.
for most people, but you are gonna when you introduce that cell communication in, like something that would be 2 to 3 vials that would be beneficial, and you might have to have 2 or 3 rounds of that, but it's going to save you from possibly having surgery. It's going to save you from having the debilitating pain, the inflammation that's occurring, because it's going to put that at rest. And it's going to help you heal faster. And if you do other modalities around it, those modalities end up becoming a lot bigger and stronger. And so, that is kind of where we're at. And then I
Yeah.
will answer Curtis's democratizing the space, because
Yeah, for sure.
that is the ultimate agenda, right? If you look at the longevity movement that's happening, uh, in my personal opinion, and I'll share this, we're creating a system of haves and have-nots. So in 15 years, if we stick to this same model, there'll be people who are 60 who look 30 or 40, and there's going to be people who are 40 who look 60. And that is going to create this natural caste system. And I use that term because that's kind of like the culture I grew up in, and I totally against it from where I'm at, because that is really, you're separating people. of who has and who doesn't have, and how we get this space to become better is understanding it, and then getting more people to use it, and then democratizing it. And when I mean democratizing it, bringing the price points down, right? These prices are not sustainable. To get a stem cell injection in Costa Rica or Colombia or some of these other countries is 120 to $150,000, and sometimes they're doing it twice a year, and it's not just once. Who can, I mean, I get it if you are mega rich. That is not that is not for everyone, right? But what is for everyone is to use this. With this product is we've gotten it down to retail to $1,800 a vial, which is eight. Yeah, there's 4 units in one vial, which is like you're getting a very potent protein concentration, and that's you could take that 4 times a year and start reversing your aging or cellular age, reversing your cellular aging, and not have to do those things later on in life. And when you think about that and you think about the concerns that we're having in the space in general about people like trying all these different things, the regulatory space. We're within the regulatory space. We're following the FDA registration. We're an FDA registered laboratory. We're not FDA approved, but we're FDA registered. We're following AABB accreditation or AATB accreditation. We're affiliating with them. So you know where the source of the product's coming from. And then we're trying to make it better and cheaper, not better and more expensive, so that more people
Yeah.
can, if more people can access it.
Yeah. Well, and like even using your example, in this case, I mean, had you not done that? I mean, of course you would have done other things, but most people, you're going to wait for the next follow-up appointment or surgery consult of some sort. You're probably inactive for literally months
2 months.
and potentially more, right? And then it's just I think we don't often think about all the other cascade of events that also causes, right? And then now you're dealing with a whole bunch of other, slew of challenges. And anytime, obviously, you're doing any kind of surgery, there are risks to that and so forth. So, you know, uh, it, if you have access to something that is available to us, where we can kind of speed that up and do it in a way that hopefully is a little bit more, I guess I can say, natural. I don't know. I see nothing but positives from that perspective.
Yeah, Frank, you're spot on. I think that's Frank saying like we can't be Brian Jensen, and that's right. Like we can't do
Yeah.
100 modalities. We need to make this sustainable because if we really believe in longevity and getting to the space of 100, 120 and doing it well, it's about how do we make it accessible and viable for everyone so that we're not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. We're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year taking care of our families, right? So like we can reverse this algorithm of it all being about me, and it can be about me being healthy and me being sustainable so I can take care of more people, right? Because that's ultimately the goal in this whole like, think about like society as a whole. We have families, we have people that, work for us or do this. We need to live long, healthy lives to generate so that we can help them, right? And
Yeah.
help them be sustainable and help them have long lives. It's a very, one way thinking if you're trying to, throw a million things at your body and saying like, oh, look at me, I'm 28 and I'm 49, really. And it's like, great. Well, you tried 100 things and you spent like LeBron James spends $1.2 million a year on his body. Well, that's awesome for LeBron James. That's not great for Sanjiv Lal.
Exactly. Exactly. Eddie, well, and that's a nice setup for what we're about to do with the group around just really understanding, the why behind, our longevity objectives and the age and so forth, right? Like it brings in like the relationships, our legacy, what we're doing, or our give back, like all of that kind of stuff, right? Understanding it's not just us. I mean, there's a ripple effect to us being healthy and feeling great more days than not, right?
Yeah. And we're seeing they're seeing the space evolve. It went from PRP, stem cells, exosomes, and now the next phase of that is cell signaling medicine, and
Yeah.
we're ahead of that curve.
Amazing. Any final thoughts for the group before we jump into the exercise? And then for anyone who's already done the plus 22 experience, we'll just raise your hand and Nathaniel will pop you into a group with Curtis and Sanjiv for 10 minutes as to continue the questions.
Yeah, and for me, I think the key takeaway would be healing is the most important thing, and it's controlled by signals, not just cells. And so cell factors help restore those signals, and that's what we want to do is restoration of the cell signals.
So good.
Yeah,
This is great. Thank you so much.
you got it.
To be continued, and we've captured everything. We'll make sure we send out the links and so forth, and we'll keep the conversation going. So anyone, just raise your hand if you've already.
Actually, Mark, if you don't mind, I
Yep.
want to try something new this time. I'm
Yeah.
gonna create two breakout rooms. The first room, Mark, you will go to, but everybody will choose your own room. So if you want to go
Perfect.
with Mark, choose room number one. If you are returning and would like to spend some time with Curtis and Sanjeev, choose room number two. So there you go. They are open.
Awesome. I'm assuming I have to pick
I
room
joined two,
number
right,
two.
Mark? I room joined. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
Sanjeev, you go to
Okay.
two.
Yeah,
I'm
Thanks.
not seeing the choice anywhere. Where is it?
Uh,
Is it supposed to pop up on our screen?
it should, but I can put you in
I'll
a
go
room
into
as
number
well.
one, please.
Okay.
This is I haven't done the exercise. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. There you are. Thank you.
hmm
Yeah, I'm not seeing that either. Where you can select.
well, that's why
Oh,
we
so you want me
tried
to go
it.
to number two?
No, you should go to
No,
number one. Sorry,
yeah.
clicked wrong.
Okay, perfect. Here at the very beginning, I just shared that typically when we go through this flow, it's always amazing to see how some forced journaling really adds, some I guess you can say some impact and depth to our longevity and so forth. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be fully guided. I have some binaural beats that I'll play during the questions. So this is just a moment to kind of get, help the mind get a little bit quiet, answer some questions, and then we'll join the group afterwards in a few minutes. So the first question is this one. It's what's your number? Like set your what's the longevity target? What age do you want to live to? Um, and caveat, of course, the age where you want to be thriving, clear-minded and immobile, and why does that number feel right to you? And I'll just throw on. Oops, that's not it. Let me just throw on some beats here to give our mind a bit of a hand. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. And we'll do 2 minutes. I'll give you a warning when there's 30 seconds left. Typically, our mind will answer any of these questions fairly surface level. So as soon as you feel like you're stuck, you just ask what else. Go a little bit deeper. Last 30 seconds. All right. Second question, this is where it starts to get really interesting usually, is if you imagine adding 22 years to whatever number you put down, kind of stretch the horizons, how would those extra years allow you to show up differently in these areas of life and go through those big buckets like family, your work, legacy, impact? And we'll do 4 minutes for that one. That one's a pretty big one. And again, if you get stuck, just what else? Just keep asking what else. And I'll do it with you. It's always good to come back to these ones. But 1 more minute.
Hi,
Okay,
Mark.
Yeah.
I apologize. I have to drop for another call.
Okay. All good.
Yeah,
Thank
I'll
you.
reach out. I'll reach back out later.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks,
Thank
Win. All right. Let's do the next question. This one, I remember we interviewed someone in our longevity forum, and this one really hit home. It's what's holding you back, but with the caveat of identify any kind of key habits or challenges that you need to let go of. But this one's the big one. If you don't address this or these challenges, what will it cost you in family, work, legacy, and impact? And we'll do 2 minutes there. Do the last 30 seconds. right, and the last question, let's move this from vision to action and think of yourself at your desired age. Again, thriving, clear-minded, mobile. What counsel would that future you give to you sitting here today? And what's the one step that you can take today? We'll do a minute. This is also just a great question in general. I feel like anytime if I'm stuck on a problem or a challenge of some sort, taking out a journal and doing this first thing in the morning and asking for guidance from our kind of higher wisdom self always surfaces some good stuff. All right, last 20 seconds. All right. We have a couple minutes and then we can join the other group. But Marta, how did that land for you?
It's just really great to take the time to answer these types of questions. Like I feel like, there are, sorry, I was just saving everything. There
Yeah,
are uh like probably 100 of them, right? Or 1,000, right? Like a bunch of different great prompts. It's kind of obvious, like, or clear why you're asking these ones, but I
sure.
feel like I'm often the one that's like working with my clients and prompting and asking and creating like space and facilitating, and I don't do it as much for myself, although I do it a lot in my conversations, especially what even
Yeah.
with colleagues, but with really close friends and colleagues, like we have a lot of deep discussions and we kind of just jump into the heart of it. I feel grateful that I don't spend a lot of time like talking about superficial things, and I don't have a lot of
Hmm.
superficial friends or people in my life. So
Yeah,
I
that's
don't really,
great.
yeah, I don't really like to gossip and talk about other people, and certainly not in a like, gossipy way. And I'm like conscious of that, right? Like kind of moving away from that. And yeah, I just like I also very consciously realized I'm 54 now, turning 55 this year, so mid 50s. And I remember very consciously, like by my late 30s, just being like, yeah, I don't want to go to lunch with a girlfriend and talk about like purses and fashion and brands.
Sure.
And I'm like, I like nice things and I have nice things, but it's like not my priority.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so like things and accumulating and anyway, so that like I've gotten, I think, more and more clear over the years, like what's important. And it's really
Hmm.
like those quality, deeper conversations and connections. So this is just
Yeah.
nice because it's like doing it with yourself as well and just like revisiting what's important to me. But I
Love
feel
it.
grateful. I actually am
Thank you.
pretty clear on it, and I carry it in myself
Thank you.
regularly.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if Nathaniel's one of the facilitators or wants to take a turn now.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I
He's the
think,
mastermind around the tech.
yeah.
He's definitely been through all of this.
Yeah. I don't
Nathaniel,
want
do
to
you
take
want
all
to
the
pop us
I don't want
back
to take all
in?
the airtime.
Uh, yeah, no, I have been through it, of course. Yeah, I just find it's interesting. I'm 45, almost 46, and last year I had one of my kidneys removed. I had cancer,
Okay.
and
Mm,
I was just talking to my friend this morning about it, about how uh, you never quite feel comfortable after that. Like you're always kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop or the other
Mm.
surprise to come up. And uh, it's helpful to go through these sessions and think about these things of not only from like what can we do, what actively can we do to improve our health, but also from a mindset perspective of these things are manageable. These things, um, I can live with one kidney for a long time and not have
Yeah.
any major issues. But there's that competing, like, I don't know. You never really think about your kidneys in normal
Until you
life.
have to. Yeah,
And
until
and
you
you
have
always, you learn very early when you're young, like, oh, you have two kidneys. And there's I'm sure a part of everybody who thinks, oh, well, there's like an extra. But then when you lose the extra, right, and you only have the one, you're like, oh, everything is very fragile.
Yeah.
Life is very fragile, and it always has been. But you have kind of that compete that way of thinking versus this, which is, yes, life is fragile, but it's also very abundant, and there are options for us, and there are ways that we can better ourselves, even just through breathing techniques, through kind of through ourselves, not through
Hmm.
supplements, not through the external. So it's nice to be able to listen into everything.
That's
Thanks
a
for
great
sharing that,
reminder.
Nathaniel.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. We should, well, you'll
Jump back
have to
in.
bring everyone else back in from the
Yep.
other group, I guess,
Yep.
and
We
we'll
will
we'll
close the
continue.
rooms and get all back together.
Perfect. All right. Okay. There's probably, I'm assuming there was like a 1 minute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
coming over.
Everyone's come back. Okay. Perfect.
Mark,
Yeah.
we had a great conversation with Sanjiv, and he's got an example that I'd love for him to share, if you
Perfect.
don't mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's coming back in. So let's do it. Let's hear the
All right,
example.
Sanjiv. Yeah, I told Mark that I'm asking you to indulge us. This is not what we recommend, but just to get a sense for what's literally possible. Sanjiv, share what you did last Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so this past Thanksgiving, so I own Beverly Hills Rejuvenation Center, so I have, and it's our product, right? So we have access to a lot of this anti-aging longevity stuff. But I did the generation lab test. My systems age test was old, right? I was 49 years old on that system age test, and I was going through a very stressful time. We were getting ready to launch a lot of the centers, and we were taking over a couple of the corporate stores. And so I wasn't taking care of the best health of myself. So I made a mindset that I'm going to do my own, I'm going to do what I actually preach.
Yeah.
But I overdid it to Curtis's point. But I decided to do like two cell factors IV a week. So I did my generation lab test. My chronological age was 46, and my biological age was saying I was 49 years old. And so I did two cell factors IV and two cell factors subcutaneously every other week. So I did that for a baseline of 3 weeks, and then I added mitochondrial peptides. So my protocol on mitochondrial peptides was SS31, MOTS-C, and NAD. I was also doing the Niagen IVs when I was doing my cell factor. So I was increasing my precursors for NAD as well too. And so then I did that for basically 60 days. Plus, I did epitalin at the end of the night every night. So it's kind of like a cellular health peptide. So that was my protocol. When I did my test, I was 29. My cellular age was 29. So that, but I also wasn't, I did not drink. I was not doing any of that. Like I was eating very healthy.
Yeah.
I actually went from 200 pounds to 185 pounds. So I lost 15 pounds in that process
Wow.
too. But I was also exercising. See, so like that, if
Yeah.
you like the way I look in that picture that you showed in the beginning, that's kind of, I was kind of fat. I mean, to be honest with you, like that was like not in a bad way. It just was, I was just heavier set. I was 203 pounds. I'm like 184, 185 right now. And that's kind of like what I've been trying to sustain. But I've taken the test again, the epigenetics slides, and it's not 29, but it was 29 when I was like on the key. So
Yeah.
20 years and 90 days, basically, less than 90 days.
Wow. How did you feel?
I felt great. I was telling Brian on the call. I was like, I felt awesome. But it's just for me, it's like, you're in a social world. Like I socially drink. I socially do those things. I was refraining from all of that for a long time, and I didn't feel great about that component. And I like to have I like to smoke cigars too. So I'm sorry. And so like that is something that I enjoy. So I stopped doing all of that. So I brought that back into my life.
Okay. Yeah, balance though. Yeah,
Yeah,
balance for
balance.
sure.
I was great with it, but you can really push that if you have the right protocols put into place, and that's really what we did. I like to play like most people do, like with yourself, experiment with yourself.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I think it's and Curtis, thanks for bringing this to us or getting Sanjiv to share it. I mean, I think it's just we need to see what's possible, right? To whether you go to that extreme or somewhere in the middle, but like just the fact that we have the agency to do this kind of stuff, like that's, I think, the key message for me with all of this is that we don't have to sit there and just accept, what basically be on autopilot and just see, hey, what happens? Let's see what cards were dealt here. There are things that we can do. So that's encouraging. Anyone want to share any group shares on, I guess the most impactful insight or what you're leaving with today?
Well, while people are thinking, I'll just add real quick. So, for all of you that love Sanjeev, and I know you all did, we are doing an event at his West Hollywood location next Tuesday, the 24th. So everybody is invited.
Mm.
Sanjeev is giving away some really cool stuff for free. He's also giving a complimentary cell factor treatment for every NAD drip. Is that correct,
That's right.
Sanjeev?
So every
So
nitrogen drip, you get a free cell factor behind it. So
yeah, which is like an insane offer. Thank you,
yeah.
thank you, thank you. And again, our vision for all of this is really creating this community where we come together, learn together, grow together. And our vision is, what if we could create this community of 10,000 heart-centered leaders who, by leveraging all these longevity breakthroughs, are able to find an extra 22 years, not just a lifespan, but also health span and joy span. Think about the cumulative impact of 10,000 people with an extra 22 years. That's an extra 220,000 years of us learning together, growing together, making the world a better place together. And that just gets me fired up every morning when I get out of bed. So we're so excited to be on this journey with you. In the chat and when we send out the recording to everybody, we'll include a link to schedule a one-on-one with Brian Howard. He'd love to share more about the longevity forums and how we're using this to literally provide that visible, measurable progress for everybody. So I'll let you finish, Mark, but thank you everyone for your time today. Oh, we've got the date
Yeah.
for the next one, right, Mark?
We do. We've got to send out the details, but we're in for a treat. When is this? February, I believe. Is it early February? And we've got Dr. Bruce, who's a sleep
Yes,
doc.
Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor. He was just on the Diary of the CEO podcast last
Yes.
week.
And
So this
it's on the
guy's
16th of March, so more details to come. We couldn't do it the week before because he gets hit up by all the news media outlets around daylight savings time and how that wrecks our sleep. I thought, oh, that's interesting. So he's coming up next. The only other thing I want to share, Curtis, is just since this is fresh from, we just hit the 6 month mark in one of our groups, our one of our beta groups actually, and we did a whole round of check-ins around what people got out of the last 6 months and to share some of their wins and their journey. And it was, I mean, jump in, of course, Curtis, but I mean, it was just, I think like that's what we're trying to do. Everyone's doing, there's different testing and different protocols and so forth, but just hearing people going from not knowing certain things about their body and where they're at to knowing and having a plan and then the group sharing in that journey like that you could feel that in the heart. This wasn't just numbers on a paper, even though those numbers are increasing, which in a positive way, which is great, but it's really that it's the community aspect, the fact that we're not alone, that we're doing this together, that we're asking the questions and supporting each another along the journey. I mean, that's what, for me at least, is the big value.
And if necessary, we can reduce your biological age by 20 years and 3 months. So
Exactly, right. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you,
well,
everyone. This was
yeah,
great. Thank you, Sanjiv. It's so great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And again,
you.
like I'm grateful for Curtis and obviously you, Mark, for doing this. And you guys are amazing human beings. And I think your guys' mission is amazing. So I want to be a part of that success.
Yeah. Well, here's to the
thank
journey
you.
together.
Yeah. Blessings,
Yeah.
everybody.
All
Take
right.
Thank
Be
you.
care.
well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.